Hello, my dear fiber friends. Welcome to the Pages and Purls YouTube channel. I am Hannah. I'm a knitter based in New York City, but originally from Germany. And welcome to this channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm happy that you choose to spend your time with me. And I have a classic podcast episode for you today, all around my knitting and finished objects, what I'm currently working on. And I hope you enjoy it. Alright, first things first, before we get into the episode, I have mentioned several times on this channel that I am a grad student in neuroscience and that I am writing my thesis, dissertation, however you want to call it. I think there is maybe a difference between British and American English, I don't know. And I was writing that for the past 5 months, and as of today I am no longer writing it, which is, let's cheer on that for a moment. I only have water here, but still, we should cheer on it. Yeah, I am finished writing my thesis. I've been working on it for a while. I have to check the references still and check if the formatting is correct. I have formatted already, but just want to double check. But for the rest, I'm done writing, I'm done revising, my advisors have seen it, they're okay with it. So I'm basically ready to submit. There's still some paperwork issues at my university, but my principal work is done. And then once I submit, I basically have to wait for my reading committee to approve of the thesis, and then at some point I will be able to defend. But we're talking months from here now. So for me, it's just a huge weight off my shoulders, lots of pressure that has been keeping me company for the past 5 months. Is slowly dissipating, and I mean, obviously it's not just the past 5 months, right? I've been working on this PhD now almost for 5 years, which is a bit insane. But yeah, those were not very easy 5 years, especially if you take into account that my research relies on being able to interact with people, and then COVID came and gave me some problems with that. Not to say that was the only problem with COVID, obviously, there were much bigger issues. But yeah, not very easy 5 years, not always super enjoyable, but overall still good, I guess, and I'm really happy to have made it this far and to be done with the thesis and have such a clear evidence of me doing something huge. So here's me cheering on that again. But enough about that. This is not a PhD channel, this is a crafts and knitting focused channel. So we're going to talk about that. It's been some time since my last podcast episode, wasn't intended. I actually filmed this whole podcast episode already once, about a week ago, but I ran into problems with storage on my phone and then accidentally deleted the video, blah 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 blah, so I'm just redoing it. And I'm redoing it on a little something that I gave myself for my own graduation to celebrate myself, which is a new camera that you are, watching this on. I got a bit fed up with filming with the back camera of my phone, not seeing myself. This was one of the issues that happened to me last week. Basically, I was recording for 1.5 hours only to realize that my phone had cut off the recording after about 20 minutes because it ran out of space, and I obviously wasn't seeing that because this is basically how I faced the phone, right? I couldn't see the screen, and that was very annoying. So anyways, I had planned on getting a camera to take nice pictures for going on holiday, and I thought since this YouTube thing is fun, I could also check for something that does decent videos and has a flip screen to make filming for me also a bit more enjoyable. So here we are. I hope this quality setup, whatever, is fine. It's definitely a huge change being able to see myself while filming, and let's see if maybe that also helps for the close-ups of everything. Yeah, anyways, enough about that. We're gonna go finished objects, works in progress, acquisitions, and then I'm gonna have a few recommendations for you also in terms of other podcasters that I want to recommend. I said this, I think, in my last podcast episode a few weeks, basically a month ago already, that I want to recommend more podcasts on here. And I think I'm going to do that as a recurring kind of thing where I pick like between 1 and 3 people that I want to recommend, just because I don't like to give you like a huge list of people, but yeah, just focus on a few here and there. Anyways, let's get started with the finished objects. And to show you my first finished object, I'm going to get changed quickly. It's much too warm to wear it permanently, hence me and my t-shirt, but let's see, maybe I last a bit wearing that finished object. Alright, here we are. I haven't said this yet, but in New York City at the moment it's 21 degrees Celsius, which is probably somewhere around 70 something degrees Fahrenheit. So it has gotten fairly warm here already, which basically means that I haven't been able to wear my finished object out and about yet because it's much too warm. This is the Cumulus blouse by Petite Knit. It is this, as you can see, like a v-neck blouse, long sleeved, and although the pattern originally suggests knitting it in 2 strands of mohair, I went for a strand of mohair and a strand of fingering weight merino. I knit this object together with Chelsea from True Lane Knits. It was the first time for me doing a sort of micro knit along or knitting an object at the same time as a friend, and it was super enjoyable. I loved the whole process of it. I loved just keeping in touch with each other throughout the week, checking in how far we were, and just yeah, chatting at the same time. We also did a couple of FaceTimes when, like, just after casting on, and one to bind off the body together. There's an I-cord edge. I will talk a bit more about the object in a second. And we kind of did an I-cord day FaceTime call to make it a bit more enjoyable, the long process. And it was super lovely. So if you and a friend are thinking about doing something similar, I would highly recommend knitting something together, because it just makes the whole process more fun, and for me also adds another layer of memory to this object. And yeah, whenever I see it now, it doesn't just make me think of the time during which I knit this, like the spring here and so on, but also makes me think of Chelsea, just because I associate this with her now, and that's really cool, I think. So if you want to see her finished object, I'm pretty sure she'll have a podcast episode at some point where she shows it to you. Yeah, check it out, because it looks really pretty. As to the object itself, so the Cumulus blouse, as I said, is by Petite Knit. I knit this in size 3, I think is the 3rd size in the pattern. A note on sizing in this one. If you're someone who basically just says, looks for recommended bust size, and then if you base yourself on that, I would suggest having a closer look at this pattern, because I find that the actual chest circumference of the garment is, yeah, puts a bit too much positive ease into it, more than recommended. So I would recommend just actually going off of your measured bust size, adding the recommended amount of positive ease, and then finding which size fits with that, because this, yeah, easier step is a bit confusing in this pattern, because it just makes the garment too big, I would say. Not sure if I just made any sense. I hope so. In any case, I knit this in a size that gave me, I think, about 12 centimeters of positive ease, which is very... I like that type of, like, slightly oversized but not hugely oversized look, especially for something like a blouse and not like a boxy jumper. And I knit this in, as I said, 1 strand of mohair and a strand of merino. I still have some yarn left over here. Actually, I have more of the merino. So this is the yarn combination that I used. You can see the mohair here and the merinos here. It is Knitting for Olive, and both are in the colorway Dusty Dove Blue. I love this colorway. I love that it's not, yeah, that it's blue grayish but not too gray leaning. And I find it works very well with the color of my eyes. Not sure if you agree, but that's why I chose it. I like the combination of these two. I'm not sure how the mohair only garment would have turned out, but I'm really happy with this. And I had seen previously, before I decided to use this combination, I'd seen on Ravelry how much people bought of the mohair and the merino for this combination. So I bought 4 balls of the mohair, so 100 grams, and 4 balls of the merino, so that would be 200 grams. And it worked pretty well. So I think I have 10 grams of merino left over and 48 grams, of the mohair, 48 grams of the merino left over, which is, I mean, basically I have almost a full ball of this left over, but I'm happy I had this extra ball in my stash that I could sort of dip into, because this way I could make the garment to the length I wanted and also the sleeves to the length I wanted, and that was just good. And I'm pretty sure that I can use this for something nice, like either some stripes in a scrappy project or yeah, something like that. So pretty sure that I'll find a nice way to use the leftovers of this up. As to the mohair itself, so this is the first garment I ever made with mohair. I am not sure yet how, so I love the process of knitting it. I'm not sure yet how much wear I will get out of this, just because it got way too warm here to test that out. I love the finished garment, and I'm really looking forward to be able to wear it once the colder temperatures roll around again. So, but yeah, anything else I really have to see. I have to wait for autumn, wear it, and then I can say more. So far, when wearing it, I don't feel like my skin reacts in any way to the mohair, but I've also only ever worn it maybe for like an hour max. Like that one time I previously tried to record the podcast episode was the only time that I actually really wore it, other than just trying it on. So yeah, but at the moment it feels great. So here's me hoping, knock on wood, that I'm not sensitive to mohair, because I did really enjoy the process of knitting this, and I really enjoy how the finished fabric looks also. And then just a bit more about the garment. So just standing up there, you can see it, wearing shorts because it's otherwise too warm in here. But yeah, you can see that it's just basically has this I-cord edge at the hem, at the sleeves, and also at the collar here, and I really like that very nicely finished look. It was the first time for me knitting an I-cord. I found it pretty easy, and Chelsea had warned me already that it's easy, but it just takes a long time. But for some reason I really enjoyed it. Maybe it was because we were chatting for most of the time of the bind of the body that made it go by faster, but even when I was knitting the remaining like I-cord edges afterwards, I found it really relaxing and nice. So yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to knit more I-cord in future projects. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is that I bought these needles. Oh, I love how the zoom of this camera works, or like not the zoom, but just how it puts into focus whenever I hold something in front of my face. I bought these sort of like short circumference, I think it's a 16-inch US 7 4.5 millimeter needles to knit the sleeves. I'm not a huge fan of sleeve knitting in the garments that I made before, because I get very annoyed of magic loop. I can do it, it's fine, I've done it for hats and so on, but I just don't love it, especially if there's like a whole garment hanging off your needles and you have to like twist it, and then you also have the magic loop. It's fine, but I just don't love it. So I wanted to try if this would make it more enjoyable, and it definitely did. So if you're like me, I can recommend buying some short circumference needles for the sleeves, because yeah, realistically, I mean 4.5 millimeters, so US 7 is a size that I also have several other patterns in my Ravelry like library and that I want to make. And I think so these are interchangeable tips, so I think if I get like a few sizes, not like the whole range, like I don't see myself knitting, I don't know, a 3 millimeter like long sleeve sweater or something, but like in a few sizes, the sort of like DK weight, maybe worsted weight sizes that I enjoy making sweaters with, I think this is really useful to have, just to make the sleeves more enjoyable. And in the end, the sleeves are also quite a big part of the project, right? So I think it's worth it over time to get these, at least for me. If you do something else, of course, that's totally cool. I mean, I know also some people knit sleeves with double pointed needles, right? I would not do that because I get really stressed with double pointed needles. But if you're one of them, let me know, because I find that super admirable. Admirable? I don't know. Anyways, my recommendation for needles. These are, I think, just the, I mean, in Europe they are Knit Pro. I think here they have a different name. KnitPicks is the brand. No, I don't know. Anyways, it's not the Xiaogu, although probably these are really good as well. But I have the Knit Pro ones. Okay, I'm getting warm, but I'm gonna keep this on for a bit longer just because this is the only time I get to wear it and I want to show it off a bit longer. Moving on to my next project, where this was a high of my knitting and like I think probably one of the most enjoyable process knits to me ever. My next finished object was a bit of a low, and that has nothing to do with the pattern. Really, like, clear warning here, nothing to do with the pattern. The pattern is great, but there were some other issues with it. So this is the Ringer Tee by Friday Knits. It's a cotton tee with a drop shoulder construction, and I knit this because I wanted to use up cotton yarn from my stash that I bought 2 years ago when I first got into knitting. Originally this yarn was meant to go into a striped jumper, but I didn't keep on knitting after that time when I bought it, and now when I saw the cotton yarn again, I'd cast on this jumper but only part of it, and when I saw the cotton yarn again I really didn't feel like making that jumper because it was made in parts and involved a lot of seaming that I really didn't feel like doing. So I thought I could use the yarn for some other projects. The yarn itself is, I'm going to show you one of them, is the Drops Paris. And this is like a, almost like, yeah, Aran weight cotton yarn, I would say. So 75 meters per 50 grams. This is the colorway white, but as you can see, so I had the sage green color. And because it was meant to be a stripy jumper, I bought 200 grams of 6 different colors for this jumper, which basically meant I didn't have enough of each of these colors to make like a separate garment with like one color only. So with the Ringer Tee, because it's a drop shoulder construction, I thought I could just knit the body in one color and then pick up for sleeves in a different color and just knit the body sort of as far as the yarn takes me, and then hope that it's long enough and not too cropped. And also I'd heard that cotton kind of stretches out, especially lengthwise, a bit, so I thought this was going to be fine. The Ringer Tee is originally written for DK weight yarn at a looser gauge, and so I was a bit off gauge, but I sort of adjusted for that in the pattern, so I knit, I think, 2 sizes down because I basically calculated with my gauge and the bust circumference that I have which size that would give me, like how many stitches I would have to cast on, and that corresponded pretty perfectly with the first size of the pattern, although I'm usually like a size 3 or 4 depending on the garment. So I knit this, it worked fine, but I just don't love the finished object. First of all, I have to say, knitting with cotton yarn, I mean, this is the first time I knit with a pure cotton yarn, and the process itself was fine. It was nowhere near as enjoyable as the process for this one, just because the cotton yarn feels much drier in the hands. But it was okay. It's not that it was, I don't know, a pain to get through or anything. It was fine. But the finished object itself, to be honest, like I finished this, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I haven't really worn it since, because the cotton is just way too thick. So it's an Aran weight cotton. It's not really cooling, it's not warm enough to, I mean, it's also a t-shirt, right? Like I wouldn't wear this as a sweater, obviously. Maybe making a sweater out of this would have been way better. But it's just, yeah, I don't find myself wanting to put it on just because it's too thick. I don't love the finished look of it because it turned out to be a bit cropped and the cotton actually didn't stretch that much, even though I was pulling at it quite a bit after blocking. So yeah, that leaves me with a finished object, a pattern that was great, but something that I don't really want to wear. And that has taught me a few things. So, first of all, I think finishing this, and then shortly after finishing the cumulus blouse, just, yeah, made it a huge contrast of amazing, not so great. I'm glad that I got to try out like being super off gauge and figuring out how that works for an existing pattern. I think that was a really good thing to learn. I also think I should have maybe picked up fewer stitches, just because my row gauge obviously was also off, but I didn't think about this too much, so it would have been maybe nicer to pick up fewer stitches to have the sleeves less like huge. So that was good to learn as well. And I mean, overall, this yarn, I have to say, is pretty cost effective. And because I had bought it years ago, and because I'm not super attached to it, I think it was a really like low stakes project of learning a few new techniques and figuring things out. So in that sense, I'm very like happy that I made it. But moving forward from here, I'm not sure what I will still do with this yarn. So I have used up all 200 grams of the sage green colorway. I've used up almost 100 grams of the white and about 50 grams of this dark blue color. So I still have some left over. Basically, this whole basket. And you can see I have like a very bright red, more of the white, this yellow here, bright blue, and then whatever's left over of the dark blue also. I'm not entirely sure what I will be making with this. At the moment, especially after finishing this t-shirt and not wanting to wear it, I'm not quite sure if I want to make any of this anymore. I mean, I could always make dishcloths or something, but at the moment there are just way too many projects in my queue that I want to knit for me to fill it with something that I'm not super excited about. I will probably hold on to this just a little bit longer, but also I'm going to look into options for donating yarn, because I think, yeah, maybe someone else would have more fun with this. And then another thing that this also sort of like illustrated for me is just that I don't want to grow a huge stash, because for me, apparently it happens that I want to knit something and then maybe a few months or years in this case later, I kind of lose interest in it. And I think for me that was like a really good illustration of, okay, think about projects that you want to do in the near future. Obviously, if you're traveling somewhere and you're picking up a nice yarn and you never, or you don't know if you'll ever be able to go back there, that's a very different situation. But yeah, it made me a bit more aware and a bit, yeah, think a bit more about which items I want to let into my stash, and yeah, just that I sort of not control myself when it comes to buying new yarns, but that I keep it a very, very conscious process to avoid this in the future, that I knit something just to sort of be done with it rather than that I'm still excited about the yarn itself. I don't know how you handle this. I'm pretty sure that for many of you also having a big stash is inspiring, and that I can see that it also allows for many options and just can be generally like an inspiring creative thing, right? So I'm not here to judge any of that. It's just for me that illustrated that my own spending and stash habits, yeah, that I might want to follow, being a little bit on the sparser side. Those are my reflections on that. That's it. And one thing that I do like, that I did notice about keeping my stash a little bit smaller, is that whenever I encounter a yarn that I really, really love, I'm often, yeah, I buy it very easily in the end, because I've now recognized what it feels like to sort of want something, or to be curious about it because it looks pretty, or to really, I don't know, really want to make something with it. Not sure if that's making any sense. Maybe I should just move on. But yeah, those are just some self-reflections. I know that many on YouTube, especially knitters that have been, yeah, in this pastime for longer, there's quite some conversation about down stashing, knitting from your stash, maybe framing it differently, I don't know, and this is just the thoughts that I've had about this recently, which doesn't mean that I have any opinions about other people's stashes, right? Yeah, but I always find these conversations really interesting, because it's like, yeah, obviously you need the materials to work with, and it's not just the material, but also the colorways and everything can be super inspiring, and how do you balance that with being overwhelmed? More finished objects, let's talk about those. So, if you have seen my latest video that was a roundup of scarf patterns, you will have seen this already. But I finished this knitting badge neckerchief by Nicholas Heat. It's a free pattern that you can find on Ravelry. Should have said this before, but I'm also going to link the patterns of all of the objects below in the description box. And I knit this with leftover yarn scraps that I had from a previous smaller gift project. This is the Lana Grossa Eco Puno Tweed in the colorway blue, I don't know, blue lights or something. The number is 301. The ball band doesn't really give a name for the color. And just to show you here the material itself, so you have this dark blue color with these little tweed bits in it, sort of like green, some orange ones, and to me it seems a bit like, I don't know, city lights. I like it. And the scarf pattern itself is basically garter stitch, and then these sort of slip stitch rows that create these huge knit stitches in between that appear a bit more transparent here, or like see-through. I loved knitting on this. It was a super fun process because it was easy enough with the garter stitch and engaging enough with the slip stitches in between and the increases that you basically knit from the tip, and then you knit your way down, and you can just knit as many rows or repeats as you have yarn for. In fact, this is what I had left over at the end, so that's, I think, about 2 grams. The yarn is 10% cotton, 14% baby alpaca, 10% merino, and 10% polyester. And it's super soft and really nice against the neck. And there was one mishap though. So I wore this for the video. I also wore it a few times in the subway because, I mean, the purpose for me was to have something that I could throw into my bag and wrap around my neck in like heavily air-conditioned places. So otherwise, I don't know, my neck is very sensitive, or my throat basically, and I get a really dry and almost sore throat with heavy air conditioning, which is very unpleasant over summer. So this does a great job, but I don't know what happened. Somehow it ended up in the wash, and I didn't put it there, my partner didn't put it there. It must have like sort of slipped between some clothes and I put it in the wash basket, I don't know. It wasn't like a very gentle wash. It was your good old New York laundromat standard setting, whatever. I mean, I think it was still on cold, so at least it didn't shrink massively. But somehow the shape is a bit weird since. Like it's not, it used to be like a very straight edge here and then like just this elongated triangular shape, but now it's sort of like, I don't know if you can see this, but it sort of has a little peak there in the middle, so it's not very straight anymore, and it's also loosed a little bit of its wingspan. So I hope that just reblocking this might solve the problem. I mean, I can still wear it, it's still long enough to tie around my neck like this. I mean, this is now a very quick way, but it did lose some length. So before the tying and yeah, just the leftover bits of the scarf that I had here were a bit longer. So I'm hoping that, yeah, reblocking and stretching it might help a bit, we'll see. But overall, I'm very happy with this. And I'm also planning to make another tiny scarf. I talk about this in that video, so if you're curious about this pattern and other tiny scarf patterns that you can use to use up some scrap yarns or to make like cute little gift knits, then check out that video. Alright, and then to my last finished object. I have shown these before, and these are my finished socks. These are, the pattern is by the Crazy Sock Lady. These are the classic vanilla socks, fingering weight yarn. And I have modified them. I mean, it's a recipe, right? In the sense that I used 2x2 rib for the cuff and a 3x1 rib for the rest of the sock, like for the crown of the foot basically and the leg. And I love these socks. I think, so I mean, this is the second pair of socks that I've ever finished. I love them more than the first one, although I love those as well. Haven't worn them yet though. Well, I've worn them once, but again, by the time I finished them, it was already quite warm, so I didn't get to wear these. But yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the yarns. So the contrast color I used for that classic sock, like 75% merino, superwash, 25% nylon yarn. It's in fact this one. I think the brand is called Friendly Product Variations, and the colorway, or Friendly Products, and the colorway is Burnt Amber, which is a lovely color. Sorry, I dropped the sock. Which is a lovely color. I love this like rust color, and I'm really looking forward to make some way more like autumnal socks with this once it gets, yeah, to the end of summer or beginning of autumn. And then the main color that I used is the Plies and Hellhounds on the sock base. Mary Cutie, I think the base is called. It's a 75% superwash blue-faced Leicester, I think, and 25% nylon. I also have it here, I'm gonna check, because it's a bit more rustic than the merino. Like, not scratchy rustic, but you can feel that it's thicker and a little bit less soft. No, it's superwash Corriedale, sorry, my bad. Superwash Corriedale. So this is what it looks in ball form. And I just love, love, love the variation of all of these colors. I mean, you see it's like more of a pink kind of base, but then you have all these super cool speckles in it of like this really bright orange. So this is basically why I went for this as the contrast color, because I wanted to match this color. And then you have some greens and like aqua tones, and it was just so fun to knit this because I was curious about each color coming up, and that made it a super enjoyable process. I have read somewhere that not the merino yarns, but like the Corriedale and some other like slightly more rustic yarns are great for sock knitting because they deal better with all the friction that you have on socks when you wear them on boots. And this is still soft enough to not be itchy or feel weird. So I definitely, in the future, when looking for sock yarns, I also want to have a bit more of a look at the content. I mean, I love the merino. I'm still gonna keep using it, obviously, but I also got a bit curious about sort of alternative sock yarns that use a bit of a different fiber content than your good old like superwash merino nylon combination. So if you have any good recommendations for that, please leave them down below because I'm curious about that. And I love that this Indie Diet brand also used a little bit of a different sock fiber mix. In general, I would really recommend checking out Plies and Hellhounds. I have only ever done something with this yarn, but I really, really love the other colors and also other fiber content mixes that she offers. And I think she also sells fiber, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Anyways, I'm gonna also link that down below, and I highly recommend it. And I think that's it about these socks. Again, love knitting them. Hopefully we'll also very much enjoy wearing them, but we have to wait for colder weather for that. I feel like I'm saying that a lot this video. That's okay. It's just how it is. Alright, and then we can move on. No, we cannot move on. I do have actually one more finished project. I just forgot about it because it's not a knitting project. So, it's this project bag. I sewed my first ever thing, and that's this, and I'm super, super happy and proud of it. I went to Brooklyn General, which is one, well, it's not my most local yarn shop, but it's close enough. and I just love all of their products and everything that they do. And Madison from the Madison Monty's YouTube channel, I will also link her down below, had told me about this workshop and how much she enjoyed it, so I thought I wanted to do that too, try it out. I've always been very curious about sewing. I don't own a sewing machine, but I wanted to do a workshop to see if I would like it. And the product sort of this workshop was to make your own small project bag. I have no clue what this fabric is. I think I have the sort of like label somewhere, but I just love, I don't know if they come out on camera, but you have these like, the sort of like little dots of the petals, they shimmer kind of like golden, and just this overall like floral pattern. It's just very pretty, I think, and it is big enough for like comfortably fits a sock project, maybe like a summer top, like that uses like maybe 2 or 3 50-gram fingering balls would also fit in here. I will have to test that. But yeah, currently it houses a sock project. Just a bit more on the sewing. Again, I don't have a sewing machine. I would like to buy one at some point though. Not now, because the space where we live is very limited and we don't know for how long we'll be staying here. As in, I mean, probably we'll move in a few months because our lease will be up then. But we're also not entirely sure for how long we're going to stay in New York, so I don't think it would be super fun to move back to Europe, across the ocean with a huge sewing machine again. So I'm gonna hold off, like put that off a little bit. But at least I know now that I do enjoy sewing, and that would be a cool thing to do and continue doing. Yeah, so that was a huge success. It was also just a really fun workshop, really great way to spend Saturday and meet some new people, learn a new skill. It was great. So if you're from the New York area and you have access to that workshop, I also highly recommend it. And then actually that leads us perfectly into works in progress, because this, as I said, houses a current sock project. It has been a bit on the back burner for a few weeks now because I'm experiencing second sock syndrome for the first time, I think. I will show you the finished sock, the one that I have finished already, which is this one. And I think is a very cute sock. This is the Red Radish sock by Stone Knits. It is a colorwork sock, my first colorwork project, and as you can see it has these cute little radishes sprouting out of the earth. And then you have another set of radishes here at the toe. And the rest of it is basically kind of like vanilla sock-like pattern. A few different things, but yeah, the main sort of difficulty of this is the color work. I think I did pretty well. I mean, it's my first color work project, and you go right in with like 4 different colors. I tried to keep my floats nicely and loose. Just showing them to you in case you want to see them. I find the red here a little bit, they came out a little bit puckered, but I still have to block the sock, and the floats are hopefully loose enough to like, yeah, straighten this out properly. But yeah, the second sock, I've only made it as far as like, yeah, just finished the cuff basically. I'm not gonna talk about specific like the sock yarns that I'm using for this, like the colors. This is one of them. It's a John Arbon sock yarn, Exmoor sock. Also has a quite interesting fiber content. Include, I think, let me check. It's like Exmoor Blueface, Corriedale, Svartblaze, which is a different cheap brand as I learned, and a bit of nylon. So it's a bit sturdier than the other sock yarns that I've worked with so far, and also definitely sturdier than this Cascade Heritage sock yarn. But still very nice, and very nice to work with also. A little bit rougher on the fingers, but totally fine. I'm making these for my dad, and I think the reason for the second sock syndrome is that I'd underestimated how much more time it takes to make socks for people with bigger feet than mine. So when I make a vanilla sock, I usually go for like the lowest number of cast on stitches, like 56 stitches cast on, because my foot is quite narrow, I found, and I have a size 38 European size, which is I think maybe a size 7.5 in US. Not sure, I have to check that out. But yeah, my feet are not huge, so sock knitting is kind of, it's not quick, but it goes over quite fast, and it's not like you have ages of a foot to knit, but this one is wider in circumference, has a longer foot, accordingly it took me much longer. The colorwork section was super engaging, because it's super fun to see the motif sort of grow as you go along. But just this whole like body of the sock took me quite a while, and I think that's why I'm a bit slower casting on the second one, because I lost my mojo there a little bit, but it will happen. I mean, I cast this on last week to not leave it lying around for too long, and I think I will add to it here and there, and then hopefully have these done maybe by the next episode or the one after. I mean, anyways, now in summer, this is way too warm to wear, so I do have a little bit of time with that. Let's see when I get it done, hopefully soon. That is sock project number 1. And the only sock project. And my other work in progress, I only have 2 works in progress, because I usually like to keep the number of works in progress low. At some point last month I had, I think, 3 or almost 4 works in progress, Jesus, at the same time, and that stressed me out a bit, because I find that I find it a bit hard to allocate time to the project properly. And yeah, I usually like to have one bigger project and a sock project on the go, because then I can vary it depending on, if I'm at home, I usually go for the bigger project with the socks. I take them with me wherever I go, so I can knit in the subway sometimes. Although with this, of course, I can only do that whenever I'm at the non-colorwork sections, because doing colorwork out and about is a bit more stressful, I think. Yes, other work in project. This is a bit hard to show, I think, but it will be the Lotus top by Iris Hardage over on Iris Makes on Instagram, I think. It's a bit hard to show. So this is a bottom-up t-shirt that has a really cool lace edge that is sort of like rolling up right now, so I cannot show it to you properly. Maybe you can see it here a bit better. Yeah, the tips are rolling up, but it has this super pretty lace work at the edge. And I think this is going to be really cute with like shorts, high-waisted jeans, whatever. And then that will make this sort of lace edge shine. And I love this because you have the lace edge at the bottom. This is also why I chose it, because this way I got to see whether I do like working lace patterns, but it also doesn't give you the risk that you have to keep it up the whole way, because you do a few sets of this lace work and then you go into stockinette in the round. And as you can see, I have done the stockinette in the round, and I'm now basically, because it's a bottom-up construction, knitting the front, and then I have the back on hold. This is why it's so difficult to show. I mean, top-down projects are always much easier to show. I think this is the second bottom-up project that I'm working, and I do like them. It's just obviously not easy to try them on, but it does feel great to knit this front part now, because it's much quicker after being in the round for so long. This is also my entry for the summer top make-along that the pattern designer Iris is hosting at the moment. It's still running, I think, until mid-June, so if you want to join it, there's still some time, and it includes all her summer tops and summer designs, which, there are many pretty ones. I wanted to make this because I just loved this lace detail on the edge, but there are many other designs that she has published that I'm also really curious about, or that I would want to make. I think she recently also came out with a bralette that I really want to try making, but participating in the knit along, I think, gives you access to one free pattern afterwards, so I might make something else of hers this summer still. Or maybe not, let's see how much time I have, but I would like to. And I am knitting the size, I think size 4 in this, which will give me like 1 or 2 centimeters of positive ease. And the yarn that I'm knitting this with is the Olivia and Oliver Fibers Merino Fingering in the colorway Pixie Dust. I will come up a bit closer that you can see just how the fabric looks like. So it's this very very variegated yarn with a sort of natural like white cream base, and then lots of these pastel pastel variations in them. So you have like some peach tones, very like pastel pinks, turquoise, blue, yellows, and I just love how it knits up. I think it's going to be very cute, especially because I have a lot of dark green skirts or shorts, and I think that will give it a nice contrast. I can also show you the yarn in ball form, so it's this. I originally bought 200 grams of it. It's a fingering weight yarn, as I said, 100% superwash merino, and I have this much left at the moment. I did helical knitting for the first time because I wanted to make sure that I don't have unwanted stripes in it, because I'm using two different skeins, and that was way easier than I thought, and has taught me a new skill, so that's really cool. And now I know what it's like to knit with hand-dyed yarns when you need higher quantities and not just a sock where, yeah, you only knit with one skein anyways. So that's the lotus petal top. I'm really curious how this will look like when it's done. Because of the bottom up, obviously I haven't been able to try it on. I'm hoping to be somewhat soon finished with the front part so that I can go to the back part and then add on some short sleeves. My original plan was to finish this by the time that I go to the Taylor Swift concert, which is this Friday. Can't wait. But I don't think that'll happen, and that's fine. I mean, it's not super necessary. It's not like this is, I need to wear this or something happens. I don't want to stress myself. I'm still gonna try to see how far I come. But I'm hoping that this construction noise from outside is not too loud, not too annoying for you. But yeah, let's see how far I get before the concert. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. I'm still going to be happy to wear it during the summer. Although I have to say I want to be done with it soon, because at the moment the summer temperatures here, spring-summer temperatures here are still okay. And I think it would be okay to wear like a fingering weight merino shirt. But I'm suspecting that by the time the extreme humidity rolls around in like July, August, that this will just not feel great on the skin, because it, just might feel too like heavy and humid and not sure. So it would be nice to get a bit of wear out of it before that. But I'll keep you updated on that, and I'm pretty sure that this one will be a finished object in the next podcast episode, because I'm quite far and I'm really enjoying the process with it. I should say, I mean, I'm knitting this on 3.5mm needles, so it is still fairly slow for a t-shirt, but it's okay. It's fun, and I love the yarn. I love knitting with Olivia and Oliver Fibers. It's the first time that I'm using their yarn, so yeah, I'm happy, or like I'm looking forward to maybe acquire more of their yarn in the future, to try out more of it. I love all the different colorways that Tam makes and dyes, so that would be cool to knit more with. Okay, so that's it for my works in progress. As I said, not so many at the same time, just because I don't love that. And I will get to some acquisitions now. And the acquisitions, I will not feature all of the acquisitions since the last podcast episode, just because I have some vlogs where I already talk about them. So if you haven't watched those but you're curious, I have one vlog about the Brooklyn yarn crawl, and all of my acquisitions from that yarn crawl are featured in that vlog. And then, well, the yarns that I acquired for this sock I also talk about in a separate vlog. But yeah, this is now a work in progress, so I don't really feel like talking about those yarns anymore. But check out those two vlogs if you haven't watched them yet. I really enjoy making vlogs. Let's see if I make another one soon. So I'm just going to talk about the other yarns that I got meanwhile. First of all is this CotLin KnitPicks yarn. It's a DK weight yarn, 70% Tangless cotton, 30% linen. And the colorway is shoal. I'll hold up another one here. On camera it comes up as almost like kind of emerald, but it's not. It's more like blue greenish. I'll try to get closer to see if maybe if the light doesn't hit so much that you see it better. So this is maybe a little bit better. It's like a blue, dark blue greenish yarn, and I love it because it really reminds me of, you know, like when you're at the sea and you go for like like towards a harbor and you have lots of concrete and steel around of like the pier and the ships and whatever. I mean, and this is how the water looks like there, like kind of dark but very interesting colors. I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about, but I really like this colorway because depending, I think, on what you wear, it can be a bit more blue or green leaning. And I got, I think, 6 balls of this, I'm not sure right now, to make the Corin cardigan by the Grea Bear, which is a pattern that came out somewhat recently. It's a lace, all over lace cardigan pattern that you can make long or short sleeved with a round neck or a v-neck, and I want to make a short sleeved v-neck version as a gift to someone special in my life. And I have already like done some like small swatches for it to check if I would want to use the recommended needle size or maybe go a needle size down. And I think I'm going to go for the recommended needle size because the pattern turns out quite nicely with it. I did make one mistake in this swatch, but it's okay. I just wanted to really see if the sort of like the size of the stitches would be nice, or if they were too open, like gauged for me. I mean, it's an open gauge anyways because of this lace pattern, right? But still. So that's one acquisition that I got. I'm not sure. Street noise. I'm not sure when I will cast this on. Probably fairly soon because I'm really curious about this, and I got a bit of a taste for lace knitting now that I did this bottom edge of the lotus petal top that I just showed you. So that's one thing that I got, and then the other thing that I got are 3 balls of this super pretty Knitting for Olive pure silk yarn in the colorway Putty. Is that how you pronounce it? Putty? I got this to participate in, I'll show it a bit closer here. I got this to participate in Andrea Gallant's, sorry for pronouncing this name maybe wrong, test knit, which is the Galax tank. I will put in a picture here. The Galax tank is a sort of V-neck shaped tank with a really pretty lace detail on the front and on the back. I have followed the designer on Instagram for some time, and already I think the Helianthus top, which is coming out very soon, is something that I really want to make because it looks like a really nice, simple, staple, but still like somewhat special tank top. And this one, yeah, she put out a test call for it, and I think it's really, really pretty because it looks somewhat, yeah, with a color like this, it's easy to combine. You have the lace detail on the front, but it's not too open. That, yeah, I've seen some other tank tops with a lace section in the front that I really like, but that I wasn't sure if I would wear because I'm not sure if I wanted to like show this much skin at the front. And this one to me seems like a perfect balance of something like an interesting detail in the front, that is also, yeah, not too open for my personal taste in wearing it. And I apply it. I am doing the test knit, or I will be doing the test knit, so this is the yarn that I got for it. Haven't swatched yet, we'll do that very soon, and that's, yeah, that's also going to be obviously then the next project that I'm going to cast on because it is my priority now. And I'm really excited about it and really looking forward to it. It's going to be another bottom-up construction as far as I can see, which is cool. I mean, I don't have anything against bottom-up construction, so looking forward to make that. And I think when it comes to acquisitions, that's basically it. Just checking. Yes, so that leaves me now at the end with my podcast recommendations that I wanted to give. Again, it's not an exhaustive list, just wanted to mention 3. today that you could maybe check out, and then next time I'll mention some more. So the 3 people that I want to talk about today, the first of them, in no particular order, right? Like there's no favorites within those 3 or anything, but I wanted to recommend Mona over at Ghost Puff, who is an illustrator based in the Netherlands, Germany. I never really understand, I think, at a border, because in the Netherlands you have so many border towns with Germany and Belgium. I mean, I lived in one of them, so I know. And she's an illustrator that I've been following for years now, and I really like her, I don't know, like the saturated, warm colors, the really cute illustrations, sometimes like, yeah, like animal and woodland themes. It's just, I love them. And it's, yeah, a few months ago I realized that she knits and that she also has a knitting podcast, so I've been watching it since, and I love it a lot. I'm always very much in awe of how she just changes patterns to her liking, because I'm not one of those people that does that, but I find it super interesting. And I don't know what they're doing outside. Anyways, so check out Ghost Puff. Again, everyone will be linked below as well. Then my second recommendation is for Lauren Simpson over on Vintage Knitting Party. I think Lauren was actually one of the first knitting podcasts that I followed. I don't know how I found her, but I love her more like vintage focused knitting patterns. She talks, well, I think she also has a shop where she sells them. I haven't checked that out yet, but still definitely want to. And I just love seeing which sort of like vintage knitting patterns she knits, hearing her talk about the different changes you make to them, how they differ from the patterns that are being released nowadays. So all of that is just very interesting, and I also just really love watching her podcast because she has such a like calming and soothing presence to me, and it's just lovely. So also would definitely recommend checking that out. And I think she also is making or has made very recently these socks, so that was really funny to see that we're sort of like partnering, like micro knit along knitting these kind of socks at the same time. And then last but very much not least is Carson over from Carson Handmade. I love her podcast. I love the sort of like warm toned colors that she uses, and just I find her very like funny, and watching her podcast is always like having like a good friend sitting next to you and chatting to you about her knitting. Also, yeah, would absolutely recommend. And again, these are in no particular order. All 3 of these are on my sort of like instant watch list. That when I see them uploading something new, I kind of feel like just dropping everything and going to watch those videos, which I rarely do because obviously I still have responsibilities. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? So go check these 3 lovely people out. And with that, I think I am done talking about everything I wanted to talk about today. Well, I mean, okay, so I said that I'm done with writing my thesis. I'm almost at the point where I can hopefully submit it. Still waiting for some paperwork to be done. But all of this, I mean, it does matter, but all of this at the moment, to my mind, doesn't matter so much because I'm going on holiday next week. So my partner and I, we had the plan anyways to go on holiday after I was done with the thesis, to sort of relax, unwind, put like a clear break between finishing all of that stress and then starting whatever comes after. So we are going to Costa Rica for backpacking for a bit more than 2 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to that, to all sorts of new sites and just getting to know another culture and country. Warm weather, I mean, we have warm weather here as well, right? But like more nature, really looking forward to hike quite a bit, and also to lie at the beach, although I'm not I'm not the type of person that goes on holiday and stays like relaxing at the beach for a week. For some reason I get too antsy doing that, but like a few days here and there is always fun. So that's the plan, and then afterwards I will start a sort of summer job for a few weeks, teaching a pre-college program of psychology and neuroscience. So I will be staying in New Haven for some time. I will probably take you guys along because I can imagine that, I don't know, I'll have a bit more time to knit there more time to write as well, like write my fun actual rom-com that I like to write. I'm gonna see if before we go on holiday if I have the time to film something else, another vlog maybe. I do have another video that I want to schedule for the time while we're away, but yeah, if I don't upload for a few weeks, you know that I'm relaxing and living the life somewhere else, and then I will obviously return with more videos afterwards. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know in the comments below if you've been working on anything while watching this, if you have any interesting or nice plans for summer, if you're in the northern hemisphere obviously, or for winter in case you're in the southern hemisphere. And just, yeah, it was nice to record a podcast episode again. I always enjoy this very much, and I hope to see you in another video soon. And until then, I hope that you're having a lovely time, that your knitting is going very well, and I will talk to you then. Bye bye.